Okay. Hi, Dan Johnson here at Sun and Fun 2012, and we're getting to talk to Robert Snyder today, who's done some interesting flying in the machine we see behind us, which is the Autogyro, and the model name is the Calidus. Calidus, I believe is the way you say it. Robert, welcome to Sun and Fun.
Thanks.
And you have flown here now 2 times, I understand.
Yes, twice to Sun and Fun, twice to Sebring.
Twice to Sebring. So evidently, this is not what a lot of people think about a gyro being a cool little toy to go around a small area in, but you don't really go very far.
No, this is
in this one, you go places. Tell us how that worked. How many hours did it take you to get down here from? He's based in Maryland, and so I don't know how to equate that in driving time or something people might relate to.
It's about 16 hours to drive.
16-hour drive. Okay, let's do that. And now tell me how it was to fly the Autogyro Calidus down here.
It's great. It's about 800 miles, nautical miles to come down. It took me 8 hours to get here.
Okay.
That included my fuel stops. I had 2 fuel stops coming down.
2 stops, okay, that's pretty good. So that gives you a range of 250 or more nautical miles?
It's not so much the range of the aircraft, it's my range.
It's human range, yes. I know about that very well. People that talk about 1,000-mile ranges, I don't know what they do in the cockpit, but I don't want to know anymore. I like to stop and do it somewhere else.
So what's this powered by?
What is the engine we got in here?
This has got a Rotax 912 ULS, 100 horsepower. There is an option for the 914 turbo.
Okay.
We felt that here on the East Coast, we probably really didn't need the extra power. Our dealers out in Utah, they've opted for the 914.
Sure, high elevation.
Right, higher elevation. And I think if a dealer down here with density altitude might want a 914 also in this machine.
Yeah, it's low elevation here, but there gets to be some pretty sky-high humidity at times, and that's one of the 3 elements that makes a need for a little more power at times. This is a really lovely piece of equipment here. Is this all, talk to me a little bit about construction, Robert. It appears to be all either carbon fiber or fiberglass or something like that. I don't see steel structure anywhere, so it's all composite?
The cockpit is
sandwich?
What do they call that? No, yeah, it's a sandwich, and they autoclave it to get all the voids out. And from what I understand, it's autoclaved on 2 separate occasions. Once when they make the shell, and then once when they put the inner shell in.
I see. Okay, so yeah, I see it's got a whole inner function to it as well, or inner fitments to it as well. But it looks like, well, this is a big boy airplane.
Yes, it is.
The average American can fit in this aircraft, I believe.
There is a
I think I'd kind of be wallowing around in here with room out to the sides. We're going to get in a little bit.
There is a weight limit per seat, 275.
275 per seat,
yes.
Okay. And why is that? Because of structure or because of weight and balance? Or
structure.
Okay.
Okay.
That's still pretty good size, though.
Right. Some of the other materials that are interesting is the mast and engine mounts are stainless steel.
Oh, yeah, I can see the stainless through the little opening here. And so the basic principle would be that differentiate gyro from a helicopter. Now, a lot of people think they know that the helicopter is a driven blade, gyrocopter is not. But give me the short explanation of what's the difference between the two, just for those watching the video.
The air goes up through the rotor blades on a gyro, down through the rotor blades on a helicopter.
That's a pretty simple explanation.
That's the basic.
And so really what's doing the work is you're getting pusher.
Correct.
Moving out of the engine.
It needs
to
have forward motion to remain airborne.
And how much forward motion? In a no-wind condition, what does it take?
This particular airplane is about 32 miles an hour.
32 miles an hour.
To maintain altitude.
And given a 100-horse engine and a slick fuselage and all, I'm guessing you get there pretty quick. What's the ground roll to do that?
About in a no-wind situation.
No-wind condition. It's the worst possible situation.
Right,
so.
is 300 feet.
300 feet, you're off the ground in a gyro.
Yes.
Great. Now, let's say it's a 15-mile-an-hour wind, which would be a nice breeze. I'm guessing it's a lot shorter than that. Is that right?
It is a lot shorter.
How short?
Probably less than 50 feet.
50 feet.
But this will also have an auto rotator on it.
This is always an auto rotation. I think you're thinking of a pre-rotator.
Pre-rotator, I'm sorry.
Pre-rotator will...
that spins the blades up ahead of time.
Yes, and that will take it to a max of 240. Usually we start our takeoff roll right around 200.
Now normally that would bring an extra shaft or something up there then to get that spinning. Do you have that
Yes.
capability on this aircraft?
That is.
Okay.
It's,
Is that the gear that I'm seeing up there?
exactly.
Okay. And so how often do you use that component of this? Every takeoff?
Every takeoff.
Okay, so you always spin it up.
Yes.
And how long does that take in time? We're talking a minute or several minutes or what?
Probably less than a minute.
Okay, so pretty quick then, just to get it going.
Yes.
Of the total speed of rotation of the rotor disc, how much does that impart, maybe in percentage or RPM or something?
It's about 80%.
Oh, okay, so you're getting pretty well there then,
Yes.
just with that. That's driven off of the engine as well?
And that's also in a no-wind situation.
Ah,
If
yes,
you've got
right.
a little bit of wind, that helps
The
it along.
pre-rotation also goes quicker with
Yes.
wind because you're angling the blade?
Wind is your friend in this aircraft.
Well, it isn't all aircraft that I know of, but really so here. Huh?
Right.
Excellent.
But one of the advantages of the gyro is that wind really doesn't bother it. I mean, you can fly these things as 34-mile-an-hour wind. It's not like a wing where you get the buffeting action.
Well, I've
That's
kind of seen that.
correct, yes.
The gyro guys always seem to fly when a lot of other people are going, maybe not now.
A day like today, with all these puffy clouds, you can have a lot of thermal activity. Kind of transparent in this airplane.
Is that right?
Yes. Just
It kind of chops them all up. Huh?
It's not a factor.
Well, you know what I think we need to do, because I'm kind of intrigued by the interior. Why don't we get inside it? Yeah, there's a lot of room in here. I could eat some more hamburgers.
And one of the nice things about this is that you can eat en route. Usually I put my drinks on the other side and the snacks on this side, and I can just reach behind and grab them when I'm flying solo.
So I see some of the reason to have the extra width here is because the rear seat pilot has his rudder pedals here, much like a tandem on a Cub or any kind of aircraft has a similar situation.
Correct.
But boy, it does make for a lot of room. Did you fly down here solo?
Yes, I did.
So you can carry a bunch of stuff, and you're really pretty comfortable in here. Now, in a regular helicopter, you've got two controls, and it seems like you pretty much have to have your hands on them all the time. The collective and the pitch control, or whatever it's all called. That's out of my range of knowledge. But in a gyro, how hands-off is the flying, Robert?
One of the demos that I usually do for helicopter knowledgeable people is as I'm climbing out after takeoff.
And do they get a little anxious when
Yes,
you do that?
This is what you do not do in a helicopter. And I'll do the entire climb out and just add a little rudder as I turn.
So it's a very natural feel here. I mean, I discovered this in my one and only flight in a gyro, which was the Magni, that once I was in it, if I didn't look up at the spinny thing, I noticed that it felt pretty much like flying any aircraft. And the action was pretty much like it. Stick left and rudder left to go left and so forth. Is it the same?
In fact, most of my stick movement in flying is a circle about that big.
So you're just doing this little bit of motion here.
And it's fingertip. The aircraft is very responsive, very predictable.
So I'm a typical guy. I'm a fixed wing guy, and I say, hey, this rotor has always fascinated me. And I'm a pretty high time fixed wing pilot. That may be a negative, I don't know. But what's the transition time for someone who has decent aptitude, let's say?
Average 8 to 10 hours, and it's really going to depend on.
And then are you
what
ready
you've
for
flown.
solo, or then are you're pretty well ready?
You're pretty ready for solo.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say that your training is complete there, but you're
then you can do it on your own.
Yes.
And go out and do
Yes, you're capable to pass a PTS at that point.
Okay. Well, that's pretty short, 8 to 10 hours. That's not bad.
It depends on what you've flown in the past.
Sure.
I've noticed the guys that have got some ultralight experience or anything that's got high drag,
They get it better?
catch on a little faster.
Yeah. Okay, well, then I might go a little faster. That's kind of a lot of my background, is that kind of slow. But if you're used to, let's say, a Bonanza, that's all you ever flew. It's going to be a little longer than.
What's going to happen is that I'm going to teach you how to fly it like an airplane, so that you're going to do run-on landings, powered approaches.
Okay.
Then we'll transition to gyroplane flying, which is now we're going to have way steeper approaches, and you can be 1,000 feet over the numbers, do a vertical descent, back up a little bit, whatever you want to do, and then land on the numbers.
This is not, and this particular Calidus in particular, a lot of it sounds like the stick and rudder part, pretty much what you know anyway, with maybe the exception of the vertical descent part.
Usually for a transition pilot, they have to get used to the steep descent that happens. They have to get used to flying slow because they're always afraid to stall. This airplane does not stall. You can fly it at 0 airspeed. You can fly it backwards. It won't stall.
Now, in a So when the airplane, I mean, I see an airplane that's all completed here, but I know FAA has not yet given their blessing to the SLSA, the fully built SLSA
That's correct.
project. So how do you bring it in, Robert, and I gather as a kit, and then how long does it take a builder if that's the case?
Correct. They're brought in as kits. It takes a builder approximately 40 hours to build the aircraft.
So one good work week, you can get her done?
Yes, and what we like to do is we like to get the builders in on a Sunday. They start bright and early Monday morning, build, and then around lunchtime we're going to take a break with them and we're going to get them to fly a little bit. And then they come back and they've got more incentive to twist wrenches.
Sure, give them a little satisfaction right away. And I'm sure there's a great deal more that you can put out to people on a website. Tell me where in Maryland you're based, and then give us your web address, please,
Okay,
Robert.
we are based at Bay Bridge Airport, Whiskey 29 in Stevensville, Maryland. It's right near Annapolis. It's on the eastern shore.
Okay.
Beautiful area to fly. We're right outside the SFRA.
You do training, I assume?
Yes, we do.
Okay, for those that need that sort of thing?
We train in gyro. We train. We're part of the largest flight school in the country from sport pilot, from what I understand. Chesapeake.
Chesapeake,
Sport Pilot.
okay, right. Yeah, we all know that name. Great, and your web address?
Web address for the Autogyro is www.autogyrousa.com.
Okay, pretty simple. Thank you very much for talking to us today, educating me and our viewers about auto gyros and gyros in general. Thanks so much for doing that. Safe trip back home. More information on this and other aircraft in the light sport space can be found on bydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com.